All right, guys, welcome to my first lecture. So this is Dietitian Lectures with me, Ryan Padilla, RD. So this is going to be on how to eat out at restaurants on a diet. So very common question I get is how to eat out at restaurants and stay in your diet. There's a lot of different things that go on here. It's going to be very dependent on where you're at in your specific, if you want to lose weight, gain weight, maintain your weight, things like that. Those are things going to matter the most. So we're going to talk about all those. We can give you examples. It's going to be great. Okay. So here are some things to consider. So like I said earlier, goals. Sorry about that. It's my alarm. All right, so goals. So are you bulking? Are you cutting? Are you maintaining? These are going to be very important. If you're cutting, you're going to have a lot less options, only a couple. It's a lot better than it used to be. They didn't really have any options before, but now a lot of restaurants, especially the chain restaurants, have really good options for if you're trying to lose weight, low calorie options, high protein, things like that. If you're maintaining, it's going to be easier than cutting. It won't be as easy as bulking because you still have to hit a certain amount of calories to maintain your weight. But it's a lot more manageable because there's more options for you than like two or three. And then if you're bulking, it's not that hard. It's pretty easy. It's not optimal, but it's going to be a lot easier when you go out with friends and family. You're just probably going to have a better time because you won't be worrying so much about how many calories are in everything. You probably be able, if you have like to have alcohol, you could have a couple drinks, maybe a little bit dessert, and you should still be good to go. And if you're a hard gainer, it's even better because going out to restaurants is probably one of the easiest ways to get more calories in your diet and food in your diet overall. And yeah, so we'll go over what restaurants are available to you. If you live in a big city like LA, it's going to be a lot easier for you to find chain restaurants and have restaurants, cater more towards you. But if you live in a more rural area with maybe like a diner or like a restaurant that doesn't have healthy options, it may be harder for you. In these cases, you could have more, home cooked meals, which is fine as well. Preparation. So if any successful dieters, um, all the successful dieters that I know prep their meals, whether it be a couple meals out, a couple days out, or a week out. So it's very important to plan out your meals, and planning has different definitions depending on the person you are, what you prefer. And then also what to do if you overeat. I've been there before. You didn't plan on eating that much, but the food is so good and it's around you, and you decide, hey, I'm gonna have some extra calories, and you go over, way over. And I'm talking about what to do if that happens. And then closing thoughts, what I really think about eating out at restaurants, cost, macros, how good the macros when you go out to restaurants, and family time. All right. All right. So when it comes to a bulking, like I said, there's a lot of options, endless options. Most items are going to be tailored to taste amazing. They have a lot. There's a lot of food. They're quite large and they're almost ideal. So you'll have a lot of good options like you have fettuccine alfredo. You have pizza, um, pasta dishes with cheese, and a lot of options. And typically they have plenty of protein, even if you're bulking. So it's pretty much the ideal situation. You get to feel more like a normal person when you go out rather than pick off the one or two healthier options on the menu. And yeah, so it's a pretty good option. I said almost ideal because you won't be able to quite get exactly what you want. So if you want a meal that's 20 fat, 150 carb, and 50 protein, you know most likely they're not going to have that. So they're going to have something more higher in fat, higher in carb, and probably lower-ish in protein. Although a lot of those dishes have a lot of protein, especially like the ones that have um, chicken, steak, fish in them. So almost ideal. So it's a pretty good scenario. So ideally, if you're going out, try to be bulking. Even if you're lean bulking, it's still fine. All right, going on to maintaining. So you have a good amount of options, but you still need to make better choices here. Maybe skip or share a dessert, share a meal, things like that that can cut down the calories are fine. Go out, have a couple diet sodas. Those are good as well. I'm going to give a couple of examples here in the coming slides that are going to be ideal for you to have when you go out. And then also something to keep in mind here is that when you go out to eat, even when you're tracking at home, the foods aren't going to be 100% accurate. Food labels are off. They could be up to 20% off. And when they're making food at restaurants, I doubt they're making it on food scales and measuring everything out exactly. I'm sure they use maybe some kind of portioning measurements, maybe like cups, measuring cups, stuff like that sometimes, but I highly doubt it. So it's going to be a little bit off, which is okay as long as you track it consistently. Um, It'll be fine over the weeks and stuff like that if you're cutting, maintaining, or bulking. Unless you're going out every day, 3 or 4 times a day, it should be fine. You're going out once or twice a week, should be no problem at all. Just count it as they have it on the website, or count it as what you estimate it as to be. Okay. So as for maintaining, so cutting, um, I would say consider going out. Um, Consider not going out, but if you do go out, you have very little options, or the options are better than they used to be. So, like I was saying earlier, the options are better than they used to be, but you're only going to have a couple options to choose from, ideally. There are a lot of salads, but it's pretty hard to measure what's in the salad and stuff like that because there's typically salads are higher in calorie, and then they come with a bunch of dressing and bunch of fat stuff like that. A lot of, like, if you have a Cobb salad, it have like bacon and eggs in it and like cheese. So typically higher fat, higher calorie items in the actual salad itself. So it's going to be harder to track stuff like that. So typically, if you're cutting, I would recommend either not going out or not going out as often. Now, if you're very busy, if you travel for work, something like that, then you probably don't have a lot of options. So you're gonna have to make this work and be more familiar with tracking when you're not at home, which is okay. But if you're someone that works from home or you commute to work, I would recommend either just trying not to go out or scheduling your cut on times that you're not that busy in the year. Maybe they're at the beginning of the year. A lot of people like to cut in January, February, March. And it's when people would usually try to lose weight and stuff like that. Trying to cut around the holidays or special events or travel is definitely not ideal. If you're going to Cabo for a week, traveling is not going to be ideal. So, or cutting is not going to be ideal, and dieting down. Probably the worst thing you can do for yourself is trying to cut weight on a vacation. So when you're on vacation, you should definitely just try to enjoy yourself and have the foods that you want, drink what you want, and then when you come back, get right back on the plan. If you want to, get back to healthy eating, exclusively only healthy foods, that's perfect. And then get your weight down a little bit if you did gain some weight on when you went on vacation. So yeah, so that's cutting. Let's move on here. So restaurant availability, like I said, if you live in a city, it's going to be a lot better, a lot more options for you. But if you live in a rural area, it's going to be harder. So city living, it's the best for eating out because the chain restaurants have nutritional info readily available. So these are things like Chili's, Cheesecake Factory, BJ's. I'm in Southern California, so those are the ones that are available to me. I'm not sure if they're nationwide, but those are the ones that are available to me. Pretty much any city I go, the city will have these restaurants available for me to choose from, and those are just three, but there's a lot more. So chain restaurants have more healthy options to choose from. This is very true. If you go to like somewhere that's a random spot, a hole in the wall, typically they don't have nutritional info available, and it's usually not as healthy unless it's an exclusively health food spot, which we do have here in Southern California, which is nice. But restaurants, diners you could ask for special requests if you go to a restaurant or diner, like if you do live in a rural area. So ask for a la carte, which just means a dish by itself to fit your diet. So you can get something like, can I have steamed asparagus with a plain baked potato, grilled chicken breast, and avocado? Um, all these options are, they may not be the most tasty, but if you put them all together, put some salt and pepper, some hot sauce on it, it'll taste pretty good and it'll be satisfying and it'll be you have plenty of protein, you have plenty of fiber, carbohydrates, and fat here all in this meal. So hopefully they have at least these ingredients here. If not, you could always do something else. If they don't have a baked potato, you can do brown rice, you can do white rice. If they don't have chicken, which they should have chicken, you could do steak or fish. If they don't have avocado, you can do some kind of oil, something like that, or nuts. And then if they don't have asparagus, they should have some kind of vegetable at the restaurant. So broccoli, carrots, things like that, or mixed veggies. Mixed veggies are good too. So yeah, if you're in a rural area, you may have less options, so you're gonna have to be able to judge this on your own more often. Try to stick with single ingredient things like I had here above: baked potatoes, steamed asparagus, grilled chicken. That way you're not mixing too many things, and it's gonna be a lot harder to estimate and know what you're eating. Typically, if you stick to these foods, it's gonna be pretty hard to overeat on them. So if you have the option to choose restaurants, choose the one that makes it easy. So sometimes you don't have the option. So if it's someone's birthday or you're going to a special event, you don't really have the option to choose where you're eating from. But you could choose, if you do have that option, choose something easy like sushi, a steakhouse, diner, something that you're familiar with. That way you can just go there. You have a meal already ready that you chose from, and you're good to go. And you'll be sticking to your diet. All right, the next thing is going to be planning your meals. So, like I said earlier, successful dieters plan their meals. So, if you lose a lot of weight, like if you lose 15, 20% of your weight and you keep it off, um, that's pretty amazing. And typically, these dieters will have a plan for their meals. So, they usually just don't go throughout the day, wake up, brush your teeth, go out the door, pick up whatever they think of on the way, and then get to work, skip lunch, have a huge dinner, order takeout, things like that. They don't usually do that. They usually have things planned, set up already. It's fairly simple to set up a plan, but you just have to think about it. Okay, so that's all you have to do here. If you're cutting, maintaining, you have to know. And you have a business lunch meeting every Wednesday at Red Lobster, plan meal the night before. So this is if you're a working professional and you have meetings at Red Lobster or insert whichever chain restaurant here. And you can plan your meal out the night before. So, but if you go there every Wednesday, you should be able to have a go-to meal when you get there. You can even have some of the bread or a starter salad, things like that to help keep you more full and have something on the go, ready to go. That way you're not doing things last minute. All right, so you want to reduce, this also reduces the stress of your meals the day before. So, something like analogy to this would be like if you go to the store and you're trying to get toothpaste, but you're not sure which toothpaste to get because there's 100 options of toothpaste, a different one to get. Like, do you get the cheapest ones? Do you get the mid-range ones? Do you get the expensive ones? Like, what's the benefits of the more expensive ones? Do they make a difference in the long term? So, but if you chose to do your research before, the night before, and you know exactly what toothpaste you're going to get when you went to the store, you don't have to deal with that decision. It's called decision fatigue. So you could just do that the day before, and then you go to the store, pick it up, good to go. So same thing here. If you're waiting till you get to the restaurant to choose, it's going to be a lot more difficult to make a decision. So just keep that in mind, because if you wait till you get to the restaurant, it's going to be a lot harder. You might slip up on your diet. But if you already know exactly what you're going to do, you stick to the mission, you get your meal, you eat it, and you're good to go. You'd be a lot better off that way. So just make sure you prepare that way. So yeah, successful dieters make decisions ahead of time to reduce stress, and this increases adherence. The plan adherence is the best way. Is super important. As Lane Norton says, compliance is the science. So if you stick to it, this is the best way to go. All right, so if you're bulking or massing, it's okay to not plan as much because there's more flexibility. Don't go overboard binge. So if you're bulking or massing, so you have a lot more flexibility in your diet. So, if you don't plan as much out, it's still okay. I'm currently on a mass right now. I don't plan as much out as I used to. Like I'm going to on a trip this weekend to San Diego, so I'm not planning out all my meals. But I am gonna bring a protein powder, bring my supplements, bring a couple protein bars. That way, I'm making sure I'm getting at least my protein in. And then while I'm out, I could have a cup of veggies on the side and still enjoy myself with some treats, but not be overly obsessive about it, especially when you're cutting. And it's okay to do that when you're cutting, because you do have to be like that a lot of the time, because if you're not, your body's more likely to just hold on to more weight if you're not in the deficit that you want to be. And it's a lot easier to slip up, and you're a lot more hungry, you're a lot more tired, so sleeping isn't as good, so it's okay to be more flexible when you're bulking and you're massing, and it just makes you feel more like a regular person, which is very nice. But don't binge, don't go overboard, um, and you should be good to go. Just make sure you're weighing yourself, things like that. Okay. Okay. So here's some examples of healthy meals. So you can choose from any of these. These are fine, but there's more options. Just look up the restaurants on Google and just type in the restaurant name and then nutritional info. Most of these chain restaurants that I have here have a full menu with the nutritional info on them, and a lot of them have a la carte options. So you could just choose a la carte. So you could have like I said earlier, like a baked potato example. You could just ask for that, and you'll be good to go. And that's a really solid meal because potatoes are very high in fiber, very high satiating. Very high. Satiating just means how full you are feeling. All right, so here is an example of a cutting meal, and this is at Cheesecake Factory. So Cheesecake Factory is one of those restaurants that have a good amount of options as far as cutting. They have like 15, 20 options for it's called the Skinnylicious menu. They actually have one of the biggest menus I've ever seen, but they have a Skinnylicious menu. You can get the grilled turkey burger. This is only 560 calories, 30 grams of fat, 45 grams of protein, and 45 grams of carbs and 29 grams of protein. So this is actually a really, really decent turkey burger. It's a little higher in fat, but that's fine. And this one comes with a side salad, so you can just do that with no dressing or light dressing on the side, and you have a really good cutting meal. So you can have this, have a Diet Coke or water, whichever you prefer. Fantastic cutting meal. All right, now if you're maintaining, so there's something called margarita grilled chicken at Chili's. So Chili's is another chain restaurant, but where I live, and they have them pretty much everywhere. So the margarita grilled chicken, I usually get this. If I'm cutting, I get 630 calories, 16 fat, 68 protein, sorry, 68 carb, and 52 grams of protein. So this is also really good. It's lower in fat, which is awesome. I really like this. Very tasty. It's not super filling, especially when you're cutting, but it's a good option to have. Have this with Diet Coke and some water. So you can have this when you're maintaining or when you're cutting. Either one's fine. But that's a good maintaining meal. I know a lot of people's calories aren't as high as mine when I'm maintaining personally. So yeah. So if you're bulking, so this is a really good bulking meal. So Texas Roadhouse beef tips with seasoned rice. So there's a lot of these popping up where I live. Um, so the total calories is 990, 54 grams of fat, 66 carb, and 57 grams of protein on their website. So another great option, probably really good too. Nearly 1,000 calories. You get all your food in, you get your protein in, and then you could even have a dessert on the side or share a dessert, and get like 1,500, 2,000 calories in one meal, so which is great if you're dieting. If you're trying to eat 4,500 calories, 5,000 calories, you get a good chunk of your calories in there, and you get to go out and have a good time with your friends and your family. Feel like a normal person. Um, yeah, so that's a good option. Okay. So these are great choices, but you can choose differently based on your calorie and protein needs. So, like I said, you're going to be limited because the foods are the way they make them typically, unless you ask for a la carte. So, um, you're going to be limited to what they make for you. But it's like I said, it's a lot better than it was before. So if you choose to go out, you could choose any of these or whatever you like that fits your calorie and protein needs on their website. All right, so here's what to do if you overeat. Okay, so I've been there before. I went out, I was cutting. This is back in 2018, a long time ago, and overeat, and you're not really sure what to do. You feel terrible the next day. So first thing to do is not freak out. It happens, man. It happens pretty much to everybody, um, especially people that are like really into weightlifting, bodybuilding, things like that, because they usually typically diet down and they're deprived themselves of calories and proteins. Happened to me a lot, especially when I was wrestling, cutting weight. After a hard weight cut, you are starving. So um, yeah, after coming off of that, so use it as a learning experience. So for me personally, I just don't overeat anymore because I've learned that you just feel so terrible after. It's just never going to be worth it to me. And haven't done it in probably 5 or 6 years. So you learn from it and you move on. So, and the good thing is that typically after a day or two, you're usually fine. Your weight will come back down. Um, Once you get back to eating everything back to normal. So the main thing to do is don't freak out. Okay, get back on your normal workouts and healthy eating plan the next day. Um, Now you could just go back to normal, whatever you're cut. If you were cutting or you're maintaining, just go back to whatever you were doing before. So let's say you were cutting and you were on 2,500 calories. Just go back to eating 2,500 calories before and all your macros and your workouts, things like that, and your weight will come back down. So typically, unless you just really overdo it and like you have like a whole cheat day or something like 10,000 calories or 12,000 calories, you know you your body's pretty forgiving. I've done a cut when I did my last cut in 2018. Um, so the one previous to this one, I think I did this a couple times and I still lost the weight I wanted to, and I was completely fine. Took a little longer, but your body's pretty forgiving, so don't worry about that too much. So if you're bulking or maintaining, it's more forgiving. Like since calories or carbs are higher, anyway, so consider a couple of days a week eating healthy to reduce calories. So if you're maintaining or bulking, um, typically you probably won't overeat, but if you do, you could always do a week or two of eating only healthy foods. So it's reducing your calories, but in a way that's not very noticeable because you're doing a bunch of nutritious foods. So foods like chicken, rice, broccoli, sweet potato, regular potato, yogurt, Greek yogurt, non-fat Greek yogurt, things like that. So just keep that in mind. You could always do that as well. And anything in between. Okay, so if you want to have your own special way of doing it, this is the way I do it. So that's a good way to do it as well. Okay. So like I said earlier, if you travel for work, this is going to be a lot harder for you, but it's good because you're going to be more familiar with healthy meals at restaurants, which is beneficial. So it's gonna be a lot better for you. You're gonna be a lot better off if you could just estimate, and it'd be better off if you decide not to start counting or not to count anymore, track your intake. You can just live life, without the food scale, which is good. Which is the goal for a lot of people. So that's it, guys. Do you guys want more videos like this? I like making it, so I wouldn't mind making more videos like this to help you guys out. I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight. I've been dieting for a long time. Dieting, building muscle. I lost a lot of weight, kept it off. So I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, insight, experience that I can help more people with. So yeah, if you guys like these videos, go ahead and give me a like, give me a follow, give me some more video suggestions, things you guys want to see. That way I can make them and put them out for you guys. All right, guys. See you guys in the next one. Peace.